Welcome back to part 2 of our OSPF version 3 lab. We've just configured OSPF version 3 on our Alternia router. We're going to configure it on Prospit, DIRS, and Before in this lab and verify that our routes propagate as we expect them to propagate. So let's go over to Prospit and we'll configure OSPF in pretty much exactly the same way. So config T, IPv6 router OSPF, process ID 10. It tells us, hey, I can't pick a router ID, so I'll do router ID 2.2.2.2, and then we'll go under both of our fast Ethernet interfaces and configure OSPF in area 0. So I'll actually do interface fast Ethernet 0/0 IPv6 OSPF area. Oh, and I forgot, you have to specify the OSPF process ID before you can specify the area. So we'll enter OSPF 10 area 0. And I'll actually go back and do it on 0.1 as well. You'll notice that the adjacency formed. It says OSPF version 3 adjacency change process 10. There's the other router ID 1.1.1.1, and it says we've got a neighbor adjacency now. We look over here on Alternia, we've got the same thing over here. So we'll do the same thing on fast Ethernet 0.1. And that's done. We'll go over to DIRS and do exactly the same thing. Config T, IPv6 router OSPF 10. Wait for it to tell us it can't pick it. Router ID 3.3.3.3. Exit, do interface fast Ethernet 0/0 IPv6 OSPF 10 area 0. We wait for it to form the neighbor adjacencies with router 2222, and it did. Last but not least, let's go over to Before Us, configure it on fast Ethernet 0/0 there. Config T, IPv6 router OSPF 10. Well, I forgot to enable unicast routing, so let's do IPv6 unicast routing. Now enter that same command. Do router ID 4.4.4.4. Do interface fast Ethernet 0/0 IPv6 router OSPF. IPv6 OSPF 10 area 0. And so now we should have neighbor adjacencies formed everywhere. So let's look over here on Alternia, do show IPv6 route. And look, we've got two networks that we've learned via OSPF, which are the networks between Prospit and DIRS and Before Us. We can also verify that the neighbor adjacencies work by doing show IPv6 OSPF. We've got all kinds of things we can do with show OSPF, just like if we did show IP OSPF, and we could do show IPv6 OSPF neighbor, and there's our neighbor full. It is the backup designated router. Again, it's using the DR and BDR because technically this is an Ethernet interface between these two routers, and so it thinks that there could be more than two routers on this link. Just for fun and giggles, let's do show IPv6 OSPF database. You'll notice that there are the router link states. It's learning about all four of the routers. It's learning about one network from itself, which are the locally connected networks, and two networks from router 3. You'll notice that also there are some different types of LSAs in IPv6. There's a type 8 LSA, and again, we're not going to go into that in this course because this is just an overview of how to do all of this with IPv6. But there's the intra-area prefix state. So now we should be able to go to Before Us, get its IPv6 addresses. So we'll do show IPv6 interface brief, and I should be able to ping that address from Alternia. So let's verify that our configuration works. So we'll do ping IPv6, paste that address in there, and look at that. I can ping all the way out to Before Us and back. In similar fashion, I can do traceroute IPv6 and the same IPv6 address, and it shows us all the routers that it has to go through to get to that IPv6 address. So you see all of the commands are there, all the troubleshooting commands, the IPv6 OSPF commands look almost exactly the same, and that concludes our discussion of OSPF on IPv6.